shot calling, hitting like it's Raleigh.
Hey guys, so this is another MCU what if, because my first MCU what if I uploaded a couple days ago, or a couple hours ago. It was what if Quicksilver or Pietro from Age of Ultron survived, and how it would change Infinity War and Civil War and all other stuff. Now I will be uploading part 2, because part 2 is about how it would change in game. So yeah, so basically this is what Tobey Maguire, this is what Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was in the MCU, or was, allowed into the MCU. Now, basically, I'm going to be going about how it would change the future movies, and how how they would introduce Spider-Man into the MCU. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man into the MCU. So basically, sorry, I just got done with a My Hero Academia what if. Basically, um, what I'm trying to say here is Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is going to be in the MCU instead of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. So guys, part 2 will be about how it would change Infinity War and Endgame, because this version of Spider-Man is introduced in Avengers. This version of Spider-Man is introduced in the first Avengers movie, and he's hinted in Spider-Man 2. I mean, Iron Man 2. He's hinted in Iron Man 2. So yeah, so basically, they go, so doing the whole entire Shatari event, Nick Fury doesn't recruit Spider-Man because he feels like they know he's a kid, so they don't want to, recruit him. They don't want to recruit him because he has a life, and they don't want to pit him into this whole entire, thing, and they don't want to risk him dying. So yeah, so basically, since in this universe, basically we switch on, because now he had a third movie in this universe. He has a third movie about him fighting Rhino, and I mean, like, him fighting Rhino, and him fighting him fighting Kraven the Hunter. This universe's Kraven the Hunter is played by played by the same, what was him? This version of Kraven the Hunter is played by The Rock, and this version of Rhino is played by the same actor that Rhino played near the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. So basically, they fight. Basically, the movie starts off. The first 4 minutes of the movie starts off him beating up Rhino, and basically the rest of the movie is him, finding out and pretty much going through the origin story of Kraven the Hunter and beating him near the end. And also in this universe, since Gwen died, pretty much Peter basically goes into the whole entire thing. So basically, before this movie happened, he was in his original suit doing the whole entire Chari thing. So near the end of Avengers, the first Avengers movie, Spider-Man went to basically went to see how New York was doing. So we snap back to basically right before, So basically, doing the whole entire thing with Age of Ultron, Spider-Man is actually recruited by the Avengers about 20 minutes into 20 minutes into Age of Ultron, after the whole entire fight with Quicksilver and Wanda, doing the whole entire them attacking the the Hydra base. Spider-Man actually joins them and basically fights alongside them, taking down Hydra agents, webbing them up into trees. Pretty much, he starts taking them out left and right, kicking them into walls, and eventually he comes across, Quicksilver, after Quicksilver just folded Hawkeye. Quicksilver runs towards pretty much Peter, and Peter dodges and throws, a spider tracker on the back of him. He runs off, but since he's running so fast, the tracker falls off of, Pietro. Spider-Man, pretty much rams his fist into a tree, breaking the tree down, and pretty much saying that I lost him. So basically, the next time, pretty much we skip forward when they, get the whole entire, the spear and everything. So basically, they get the spear and they go back to, Avengers quarters. Spider-Man is, talking to Black Widow, pretty much flirting with her. She pretty much didn't take anything and just, leaves, Peter. Peter basically, is hanging around the Avengers mansion since Peter, since Gwen is dead and pretty much, Peter has nothing really else to do other than, finish college. Peter sees that Avengers is a good, opportunity to become a real legit hero, and since he lives in the Avengers Tower, he doesn't really need to, get a new house. Since, well, he still, finished his education, but yet again, Peter's still, a superhero. So yeah. So basically, guys, pretty much, we skip forward to when Ultron, is made. We skip forward to when Ultron is made. So basically, after Ultron is made and Ultron, attacks the Avengers quarters, pretty much they start, attacking. Spider-Man starts, defending them off, wiping them up, and pretty much the fight ends a lot more quicker because they have an extra pair of hands, aka Peter. So basically, after they, take down the Ultron people, Ultron, is taken down by one swift punch by Peter, and Peter, ends him, seemingly. So basically, Ultron takes that time to rebuild his body into the, iconic MCU Ultron body. So basically, Peter, is sought after by, Ultron. Ultron doesn't know that much about Peter, but he does tap into the show, archives and see how Peter's powers work and how, he is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and how he lost most people in his life. Pretty much, getting a little bit, pretty much, well, excited for this. So basically, Peter, goes into, the whole entire place, tracking down, where, Quicksilver and Wanda is. They see that Quicksilver and Wanda is talking to Ultron at the church, and pretty much Peter runs in there and starts whipping them both up and, tries to fight Ultron. Ultron gets the upper hand on Peter, obviously, grabs Peter by the neck, and pretty much throws him out of the church with, like, little effort. Pretty much throwing him out of the church, knocking him out. They get out of there as fast as possible, and pretty much Peter wakes up in the hospital with Cap right next to him, saying that you got hit pretty hard, kid. Pretty much, they get ready to, get suited up, and pretty much we skip all the way to the whole entire, So basically, since, the whole entire thing happens, and Ultron invades Sokovia, and pretty much, pisses it up into the, place. In this universe, Pietro still gets killed, and Quicksilver, Spider-Man tries to save Pietro and try to, take down, Ultron, but Pietro, Spider-Man's too, well, slow, and Pietro still gets killed. Pretty much, Spider-Man, pretty much says, I couldn't save you, and pretty much saying that I can never save anybody, but I can still save this place, Sokovia. So basically, they get ready, and pretty much, they get started. So, basically, Ultron, is still taking down villains. Pretty much, with the whole entire scene when the train was going down the whole entire, road, when, like, Quicksilver ran in there, and he saved a couple people that were in the road, Spider-Man did that the same thing. On the other side, flipping people up into buildings and pretty much saving them from the, train. When the train was going, Pietro, trying to, was fighting Ultron, and Spider-Man was whipped up to, the beginning, or, the right in front of the train, and pretty much stopped the train, recreating the original 2000 Spider-Man's train stop, pretty much webbing himself onto other, pillars and stuff like that, trying to, stop it. He eventually stops it, but Ultron gets upper hand and pretty much captures, Peter at the last minute. Peter, is tied up and pretty much sitting next to, Ultron. Ultron says to Peter that, well, this is the end. Takes out a laser cannon and about to, pretty much nerf this boy, Spider-Man. But at the last second, Wanda steps in and pretty much saves Peter and pretty much throws a huge amount of energy towards Ultron, pushing him up back. So basically, Wanda was still, Black Widow was still captured by Ultron. But basically, yeah. So basically, since, Peter gets knocked out, The rest of the movie is kind of the same. Near the end, when everybody, when like the city's falling down to its death, um, pretty much Spider-Man, tries his hardest to save everybody in the whole entire place. Now, Spider-Man does get saved by Tony, and pretty much the city gets handled the same. They blow it up and all other stuff. So basically, that's what happened. Nothing really interesting, nothing really different happened that much. But yeah, so basically, I think they did put Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in this What If. I mean, in the MCU, Age of Ultron would be pretty lit. But yeah, so we skip to Civil War. Now, guys, I'm gonna end it off here because, well, I hit the 10-minute arc. So yeah, so basically, since this whole entire thing happened. So guys, I'll end it off here. See you guys later. Bye, and as always, have a blessed day. Deuces.